Holy smokes, folks. People are out here robbing banks. And at the end of 2022, I did the same. Let's get out of frame. What's going on, my champions? Jai T here, creation creator. And at the end of 2022, I made a ton of money robbing banks. That's right, I did it legally, and by the end of this video, I'm going to show you exactly how you can do the same. Now, Ryan Gosling and I both robbed the same bank for the same reason. I had permission from a local bank to shoot a high school film scene there. I had a realistic looking BB gun with a zip tie around the trigger, so everybody knew that they were going to be safe. We had forgotten, though, to inform the local police, so I ended up having to have a meeting at the school with my parents and the film teacher, the principal, the superintendent of schools, president of the bank, chief of police. Everybody was there to make sure that we weren't going to sue, because I had put myself in some pretty serious danger. I probably could have sued the dickens out of them. Now, Ryan and I did both get away pretty much unnoticed, but he did have a large crowd of spectators right across the street there at the fire station, which doubles as a police station. So as I'm leaving the bank with a bag and a gun and I go running down the street, I did have a few phone calls to 911, but they showed up too late. I had gotten away. When Ryan shot The Place Behind the Pines several years later with Bradley Cooper, we both played desperate fathers trying to raise money to save our children. Now, I didn't realize how realistic this plot would become in 2022, because at the end of last year, I did try to deposit some cash at the bank. I went to the local credit union and they were closed during regular business hours. So I went down the street to the other credit union and they had a couple people working, but no tellers that were accepting cash. They said there had been a recent string of robberies and the banks were no longer accepting cash. There was only one hub locally accepting cash and it was many miles away, so I had to work out something else with my cash. Now, how is it possible that none of the local banks are accepting cash? Well, we're going to have to get out of frame. So at the end of 2022, the Federal Reserve launched their CBDC pilot program with 12 of the largest banks in the US, including Wells Fargo, and essentially they have a central bank digital currency that they're testing out to set up a wallet directly from them to you. Now here you can see on the New York Fed webpage that they are experimenting with digital asset transactions. Now, what are CBDCs? Essentially, a central bank digital currency is programmable money on a public ledger. And that can be concerning for a couple reasons, because when you have programmable money coming from the central bank, they can send you notifications like these. They want you to spend your money within a certain amount of time, or they'll revoke it and take it back, or they're going to encourage you to spend your money to increase your credit score. Here you can see that a payment can be declined if you don't turn on your location services on your phone. Now, you can program digital money to do anything. Anything. The possibilities are endless. Now, the good news is there are people working to bring this forth responsibly. Now, David Chaum is also known as the Godfather of cryptocurrency. He's been creating digital currencies since the 90s, long before even Bitcoin, and he recently met with the Swiss National Bank to work on ensuring that there's privacy, at least, when using these CBDCs.
We've created something that's a major breakthrough.
Now, David Chaum has also created the xx.network, which is a way to send transactions and messages privately. The information is shredded through CMix, which essentially makes this quantum resistant for the next 20 years, meaning that even the most powerful computers cannot put the code back together. Your messages and your transactions are completely encrypted. And from the XX network, they've also created the Speakeasy platform where you can communicate with these quantum-resistant messages enabled.
Speakeasy is the ability to talk about what you want because it is the first surveillance and censorship-proof social media system. This is a product where users can create, share, and communicate with absolute privacy. And we're able to do this because of how Speakeasy is built on XX Network, how the architecture is trustless, and it allows for Speakeasies which can never be censored or tracked. No one can even know that they exist unless they're in them. Users can feel secure knowing that what they post or say in a Speakeasy can't be traced back to them by anyone ever. And we're able to do this because Speakeasy is fundamentally different. It is decentralized.
Now, full disclosure, I have received sponsorship from the XX Network for a party that I threw in Los Angeles for LA Tech Week. And I've been in talks with them for a while about a project, and I'm very excited about what they're working on. I'm very optimistic about what's coming in the future. Now, as the Federal Reserve lowered interest rates in 2020, that caused banks to loan out more money, and that is the creation of money, is when banks put debt on their balance sheets and you agree to pay it back. And here you can see that in just the last couple years, more money has been created through these loans that banks have issued to everyday people and businesses than ever before. They've been stacking debt higher than I stacked this cabbage for my great-grandmother's Golumpki recipe. I love Golumpkis. And so now it is my opinion that the bankers have gone ahead and intentionally blown up the system. I mean, just look at the amount of debt per taxpayer, $246,000 each. Nobody has that money just laying around. And so that's why they're going to come in with the convenient solution, this FedNow payment service, where you set up a wallet directly with the Federal Reserve and they give you the programmable money on their terms. They're going to use the central bank digital currencies to reset the system on blockchain rails.
And it's going to flip probably even faster than we saw in 2008, where the need for communications really quickly in the social media world to avoid disinformation.
We are here to develop the great narrative.
And the ability to get information out to avoid rumors taking over the narrative.
It's going to be just like 2008, except way bigger. Last time it was a bailout. They used taxpayer money to bail out the banks, but this time it's looking more like a bail-in.
I remember in the early days of bail-in, people saying they're coming for my deposits.
I mean, it's a little bit conflicted, right? I mean, it's important that people understand they can be bailed in, but you don't want a huge run on the institution. But they're going to be.
I almost think you'd scare the public if you put this out. Like, why are they telling me this? Should I be concerned about my bank? I think you've got to think of the unintended consequences of taking a public that has more full faith and confidence in the banking system than maybe people in this room do. That we want them to have full faith and confidence in the banking system. They know the FDIC insurance is there. They know it works. They put their money in. They get their money out. But I would be careful about the unintended consequences of starting to blast too much of this out in the general public.
So what can you do? You can stock up on sound money like silver and gold. You can also pile into ISO 20022 compliant cryptos. Now, this is not financial advice, but these are the tools that will be used to reset the system. These are the cryptocurrencies that the central banks are going to be using to transact across borders and so on. In addition to that, you can rob the banks legally by betting against them. Check it out. So as the banks are scrambling to put together some sort of narrative to keep the masses calm,
We are here to develop the great narrative.
I'm putting in short orders against those banks, thus robbing them of their funds as they collapse. So what is short selling? As stock prices go down, you can borrow shares at their current prices and then buy them back later at the bottom, pocketing the difference. But hey, don't take financial advice from me. I'm just a 3-time international charting artist. Now, if you found this information valuable, please do share it like galumpies. Big love, my champions. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next